Hello, today we ask Reddit, what did you try and found out it's not for you? Make sure to comment your opinion down below. With that, sit back and enjoy. Today. I tried today and it's just not working for me. I want to go back to bed and try again tomorrow. Very relatable, man. I remember this audio that's been going viral of this Indian guy who says something like, when you have a bad day, go home and sleep. Some days are ducked. And cannot be unducked. Lol, that's some nice advice. I ducked up at work 3 times in one day. I walked into the office and told the boss, I've ducked up 3 times today. I've never ducked up this much in one day in my life, and it's only noon. If it's cool with you, I would like to go home to hopefully save all of us from something colossal. He let me go home. Heroin. Tried it once for like 10 years. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Same, but it was like 10 years of cocaine followed by a year run of crack. Then someone suggested meth to quit crack. It worked. Then after a few months of meth, I quit everything. I'm okay now. Working in a daycare. Made me realize I love my kids, but not all kids. I love kids. I'm great with them. Teaching preschool cured me of ever wanting to work with them again. As a teacher of middle schoolers, I love my age group. Early on in my career I taught first grade. It was sweet and adorable and full of hugs and love, but first graders always need you and it's exhausting. For middle schoolers, you can let them work for 20 minutes while you grade papers and only occasionally glance up and they are fine. After the first few weeks when you have set routines and boundaries. It's so much less stress teaching 12-year-olds instead of 6-year-olds. You just need a high tolerance for adolescent body odor and stupid slang words that make no sense. Bet. Playing the guitar. My teacher straight up promised to give me an A for effort if I didn't come to class anymore. Ada, this was a guitar elective class at a public high school. You failed successfully. Nightclubs. Grew up in a super religious house so I wasn't allowed to go. Then I moved out and found them super boring and overwhelming. You can't actually have a conversation, people seem to be acting to look cool and get laid and it can get super expensive. Totally with you on this. Had a few girlfriends that always wanted to go and I would be so bored unless it had a pool table or game spot. The drain on the wallet was always the worst part though. Honestly, it's only fun if you just go with friends and don't have the intention of getting laid. Besides that though, it's pretty overrated and I'd rather go to a bar or just hang out at someone's place. I also tried them. I learned that they serve a great function of keeping people I have no interest in interacting with in a place I don't want to be. A gay relationship. Always been kind of attracted to men, so went out on a couple dates with men that were so-so. Finally hit it off with a guy, tried sexual stuff and I was immediately not into it. Turns out I like looking at good-looking men and it stops there. It was weird. Nothing wrong with window shopping. I feel that lol. Made out with a guy while I was drunk once and was like, yeah IDK, maybe I could do this. Feels like lips. And then he started to reach down my pants and I flipped. Immediately the lid on that idea shut and I am now 101% straight. Can say so with absolute confidence. I'm straighter than a guy who's never kissed a dude, because I know I'm not into it LMAO. I feel you bro. Well, I won't feel you, but you get the idea. Being a responsible adult, it's ducking shit. Such a hassle. Tell me about it. Sat watching some YouTube drinking beer knowing I should really go to sleep soon as I have work in the morning. Being a teacher. I love the teaching. I hate being a teacher. Edit, the funny thing is that I'm still teaching. Will be changing after this school year is done. Do I know what to? Not really, but I shiver at the thought of another 30 years to go. Maybe it's the audience? Adult education might be worth a try. I spent the first part of my career in adult education, teaching to people already employed but needing to refresh skills or learn new ones. We had virtually no discipline problems. Even the people who didn't want to be there weren't dumb enough to risk their jobs, careers on it. They'd just sit quietly. Most people were actually interested and participatory. It's probably a combination of the audience and the administration and the parents. In that case, private adult tutoring is probably the best option, or becoming a professor with tenure, or maybe some kind of corporate, industrial trainer. The hospitality sector. I was a cook for all of my 20s, and the only saving grace of that god-awful line of work was the coworkers. I think the main reason we all got along so well was because none of us really liked or cared about our jobs. With no room to advance, nobody's stabbing each other's backs to get ahead, and nobody needs to act polite or pretend they like being there. Honestly, I kind of miss it. I miss that so much. Absolutely hated that job, but the camaraderie of the line is something I will always miss. I also miss having a job that has a finite end when your shift ended. There were no ongoing projects, deadlines, thing to catch up on after hours. You clocked in, worked, and clocked out. Unity and suffering. That being said, I wish there was no backstabbing. I worked in high-end hotels and duck me. I had a bag of fish thrown at my head by a guy who I was competing for junior Suze with, and that's not even the worst. Prep sabotage. Kiss Arzing whilst bitching you out to the J. Suze, head chef, it was unending. Being active on social media. I prefer to keep to myself and not share my life online. Edit. To the people saying, but Reddit is social media, I get it, smarty pants. Call it whatever you want. When I say social media, I'm mainly talking about Facebook and Instagram. The platforms where you use your real name and you're surrounded by people you actually know. Remember, only a small percentage of the internet actually posts stuff. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? I feel it's best shown on Twitch. 500 viewers, only about 10 to 20 actually commenting. I tried a sensory deprivation tank because I thought it would be therapeutic, etc. And it devolved into a panic attack. I really tried to ride it out, but 15 minutes in I crawled out crying and shivering. Apparently some of us need to feel connected to our senses to feel real? Also, the salt burned the shit out of my scalp. Wear a swimming cap if you're gonna try it. Had a drop of high saline condensation land right in my eye. I was devoid of all sensation except a burning coal where my eye once was. That's unfortunate. My experience was amazing. As each layer of sensory perception faded, so did the narrator voice, until it was gone. It was then understood that the narrator voice is not the self at all but just another perception. Then I left and got in my car and screamed in traffic. Also, don't try it if you've got hemorrhoids, just saying. Sleeping with my friend's wife. My friend wanted me to do it, I guess that's his fetish. I know a bloke who pressured his wife into having passionate hugging with another man. His best friend while he watched was into watching in a cuck-type way. Eventually, the wife and best friend started ducking around without the husband being present. She left him for the friend. Husband couldn't understand how this happened. Well, would you look at that, the cuck got cucked. Office jobs. I feel this one. Spent 5 years doing office work and didn't realize just how much it was taking little pieces of myself in that role. It wasn't hard, but was unappreciated and had no real direction. The team completed stuff and somehow I was supposed to feel fulfilled without having any part in the achievement. Instead, I went to electrical lineman school. It was hard on my body, but I managed to stick it out. Graduated and took a groundman position doing real line work. So far, as a career, it's been fulfilling to have a hand making modern living possible. Way more satisfying, but I seriously need to take stock in Motrin. Me and warehousing. We loaded X amount of trucks this week, a new record good for us. We broke records almost every week and never got raises or anything. Now I work for a nonprofit as a maintenance man for group homes for people with severe and persistent mental illnesses. I feel appreciated, and when I go to these homes I can look around and know I've made a place where people who struggle to keep their homes livable, better. In one case I completely redid a client's room. We tore up the floor and repainted everything and got them new furniture, and after that the client improved dramatically. I directly helped and improved someone's life, and the normal staff helped keep them from backsliding to where they were when they came to us. Compare that to loading trucks for corporate overlords and there's no contest. I'm still not getting pay raises though. Programming. Yeah, I was a math major in college, and since math is a prerequisite for most programming courses, I wound up taking some programming courses as electives. Stuck with it long enough to get to an intermediate class. It was at the intermediate level when I decided to, as the kids say, nope the duck out. I'll never forget the conversation I had with the professor. Professor, are you sure this won't affect your major? Me, I'm actually a math major. I'm just taking this as an elective. Professor, oh, shit, then I don't blame you. This is pretty intense for an elective. I took CS as an elective and I was a film major. Kept up for half the year, then used my pass, fail option. Actually kind of enjoyed it on those terms. I found that having a relationship, having hugging sessions, and potentially creating a family just wasn't for me. I'm happy living the rest of my life single and childless, being a true independent person. My closest family members don't understand me though, but thankfully they still accept me. I enjoy my life the way it is, it's just a little awkward at the family cookouts. Twitch streaming. Turns out I'd much rather just relax and play and do things at my own pace. Instead I started making montages on YouTube. I used to watch a ton of streamers, and I was like, hey, I play video games. It would be great to do that for an audience. I installed Streamlabs OBS to see how it all worked, and after about 10 minutes, I was, yeah, duck this. Haven't thought about it again, and I've mostly stopped watching Twitch altogether. I prefer playing my own games than watching other people play them, especially with my job where I work from home on my own gaming PC. Being a crime scene investigator. I have a bachelor's degree in forensics. I got hired in my dream position at 23, just 2 years after I graduated. This was Plan A, the dream I had been working towards since I decided to go into forensics when I was 16. Then I quit after just 3.5 months. I wasn't prepared for how intense crime scenes are. One of my supervisors had once told me that we aren't called because someone is having a good day. And she was absolutely right. There are so many players and so many moving parts. I was overwhelmed with what I was expected to know and remember. I could have gotten over that aspect, but the emotional and mental intensity of a scene would paralyze me. Most death investigation crime scenes we were called to were suicides, homicides, and drug overdoses. Almost never had someone died peacefully surrounded by people they loved. It was always violent and lonely. I had a tendency to think about a person's last moments that led up to why we were there, and I would be overcome with emotion. I had panic attacks at multiple scenes. I would always get the work done, but it took such a toll. One day at a burglary scene, I broke down and told my trainer that I don't think I could do this job. She took over the scene while I went to the van and cried on the phone to my mom. I quit the next week. I finished up any open cases I had and threw in the towel. I couldn't do it. It took a long time for me to be okay with that decision. I knew if I stayed that job it would have killed me. I was praised for realizing early on that this wasn't the job for me and getting out, but I felt like such a failure. I also felt the degree I got from university was now useless and that I had wasted thousands of dollars for nothing. I'm very lucky to have a support system who love me and care for me. I wouldn't have made it through this decision without them. It would have eaten me alive. I'm about 1.5 years removed from when I quit, and I still sometimes struggle. I'm in a new position now where I work closely with the crime scene investigators I worked with, and I'm much happier. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching all the way until the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment anything that you tried and hated. Until next time.